And with me for the first time together is Phil Session.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Russell.
Hey, good to see you here. Phil and I actually know each other really well. We've just never been like in this situation on the TV show. Don't suck. I'm just kidding. I've seen you. You're great.
I'll try my best.
Today is Sunday, September 4th, 2016. We are a live call-in, internet-based atheist TV show broadcasting from Austin, Texas, dedicated to promoting positive atheism and the separation of church and state. You can catch us live every Sunday on YouTube or Ustream.tv. The official Atheist Experience website is www.atheist-experience.com. You can provide feedback by commenting on the official show blog at freethoughtblogs.com/AXP, or you can email tv@atheist-community.org. Or you can join the Atheist Experience official discussion group on Facebook. If you enjoy this show, you can also check out our related podcast, The Non-Prophets, which currently airs on the first and third Wednesdays of every month. This is the first week of the month. The next Non-Prophets will be recorded live on September 7th, 7:30 p.m. here at the ACA Free Thought Library. People are welcome to sit in on that show and this one anytime. And as always, the cast and crew of the Atheist Experience will be going to dinner after the show at Star of India, our permanent location now. Awesome. And that's been working out pretty well, right?
Actually, I haven't been to it. I've heard that that's been a new location.
You're coming tonight, right?
Yes, I am coming tonight.
And if everybody else doesn't come tonight, you'll miss out on meeting Phil for the first time. So, let's see. That is 2900 West Anderson Lane, number 12D. I guess the number won't matter. Just look it up on your phones, guys. It's the 21st century. Let's see. So the Gay Pride Festival has passed. I guess you already mentioned it on the show last week, but big success. Lots of people coming by. And the next big event, the next teeny tiny event that I'm going to be involved in is I'm going to be in San Antonio in a few weeks. I've been invited by the Secular Student Alliance at UT San Antonio to talk to them on Thursday, September 22nd. So if we happen to have anyone listening from anywhere in San Antonio, check out the SSA Facebook page there. They're going to be making an announcement. I'll be sharing it. September 22nd. 2 days later, the much more interesting event and the much more interesting speaker, Greta Christina, will be with us as we prepare for the Bat Cruise. You'll have to check the website for this because I don't have the exact time, but it's like, I believe 2 p.m. For Greta Christina giving a lecture about atheism. She is the author of Coming Out Atheist and also Why Are You Atheists So Angry, which is like my favorite book title. We're also going to have Rebecca Vitzman as a guest. She is she is the atheist who talked back to Wolf Blitzer. She is involved with the oh man, I'm getting embarrassed by this. She's involved with important charity humanitarian work, and she's really cool and entertaining. And I've met her at a bunch of conferences. She's going to be our guest from the Seattle area. And then we're all going to get on a boat and tempt fate for God to hit us with lightning. 6 p.m. we'll be heading out. The boat will leave at 6 p.m. sharp, so don't be left on the dock.
Yes, please be on time. Please be on time.
Tickets are available now at the ACA website. And lots of people should come. In fact, we even this year put out an ad on the Austin Chronicle in the Chronicle. Mm-hmm. So I'm real excited because this is our biggest event of the year. How are you, Phil?
Doing well. It's great to be back on. It's great to be with you for the first time. So let's have some fun there. But this weekend has been just as busy as ever. On yesterday, I volunteered at the San Antonio Food Bank with the South Texas Atheists for a Reason, and in their garden, as a matter of fact, they actually have 3 gardens. One is like 23 acres of garden. It's just a massive facility there. So that was awesome. But I just wanted to mention a few events that were going to be coming up here very soon. On this coming Saturday, September 10th, we'll be having our ACA will be having an outing out at Hippie Hollow. It's Atheists at Hippie Hollow. So information about that is on our website, atheist-community.org, and it's also on our Facebook and Meetup. So you'll know where to go once you actually get in there, things of that sort. I believe it's about $20 or so to get in that park on that side. So just take a look there if you want to join up.
All right. Should we warn people that Hippie Hollow is a nude beach?
It is a.
I mean, that might be relevant information.
It's not nude, but clothing optional.
Oh, right.
It is the official moniker that.
Yeah. Austin's a cool place, guys.
That Austin has deemed a clothing optional park on that side. So yes, just be aware that if you do want to partake on that side. There's also on the 11th, actually, that following Sunday. That morning, I'll be doing another giveaway with the homeless with Austin Atheists Helping the Homeless, which is our 7th year of existence, as a matter of fact, which is awesome. So we'll be having some extra stuff to give away, maybe some cakes or something like that, maybe oatmeal cream pies, I don't know, something to kind of celebrate the occasion there and help out on this side. And right after that, the ACA will be having another street cleanup. We'll be cleaning up the south side of our south location. We adopt 2 streets in Austin to actually clean up. And so this will be the south side on Lamar and Barton Skyway is the intersection, meeting at that half price books there and cleaning up a half-a-mile stretch up and down. So I'll be bringing trash bags, things of that sort. So you can just come out. The information for that is also on the website, the Facebook meetup as well, if you want to partake on that side. And I guess that's all on there for the announcements for the upcoming events. I'm trying to think of anything else. We already did the back cruise.
I hated giving Rebecca Vitzman short shrift, so I do want to say that she is the development coordinator at the Foundation Beyond Belief's Humanist Disaster Recovery Team.
Awesome.
So,
awesome.
Like I said, awesome humanitarian work, and guest on the back cruise.
Yes. Did we already announce the award portion? Or is that?
We haven't specifically talked about it, but
okay.
I don't know. We are trying something new that every year now we're going to, in addition to having a featured speaker, we're going to be giving somebody an award for being a cool atheist. I forget what the title is.
The Impact
Obviously,
Atheist
I'm
Award.
woefully underprepared.
The ACA's Impact Atheist Award.
Impact Atheist, yes.
Will be that, and that'll be presented around the time where Greta Christina is giving her talk. It'll be presented at that same meeting place as well.
Yep.
So yeah, that's
all right.
That's it for me.
Ready for callers?
Let's do it.
Here we go. We're going to start with Bill in California. Bill.
Hello there.
Hi.
So my question was this, and I'll do the best I can to articulate it because I had a little trouble with the call screener. So if I seem a little long-winded, forgive me.
Okay.
But basically it's this, and I did see on your Iron Chariots you had devoted a couple of column inches to this, but very little, and so I've never heard this argued before. So here it is. It's not really fair to be put into a situation, where you don't really know the stakes. And it seems to me that's what life is, or at least that's what some religions would have you understand it. And that is, you're thrown into life, and you've got this situation where you can either go to heaven or hell. And hell is a really kind of a bad proposition. But we come into it completely blind, right? It's almost like we were given a contract, but we had no control over the contract. So like when it's not like before we were born. God came up to us and said, "Hey, I've got this deal for you. I'll let you come to life and be an entity or a being or something like that. The only thing is, you got to do things this way, or else you go to a terrible, place." It seems to me, and we aren't given that deal, or at least we don't remember getting that deal if we are given it. And I think I would just opt out. I would say, yeah, you know what? I think I just don't want to exist if that's the deal I've got. It's too big of a risk.
Well, I mean, I agree with you, obviously, and luckily, I think that's not real.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I'm not sure if, like, I do like to go ahead and think hypothetically, what if it was all true? And I'm not sure you could realistically opt out. I mean, it's the same situation if you were born in North Korea and everyone said, worship the dear leader or we're going to throw you in prison. It's not like you can say, well, I don't worship the dear leader, but I don't feel like going to prison. A dictatorship is a dictatorship, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah, I'll grant that. But how do you think that the theists would address that, or would they address it in just the way you did? Because that seems like not a very nice God to me. That's not really a merciful God. That's more of a capricious God, to my sense.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're testing out arguments against Christians, you might want to call a Christian show sometime. If you want me to put on my theist hat, I'm going to argue that, well, God made us all, and so he has the right to do whatever he wants with us. That's the line of nonsense that I would most expect to hear from them.
Yeah, I would. What do you think? I would be along those same lines, like that God knows best, that he, he made this plan for me. He has my best interest at heart. He has, he has this grand plan, and I'm a part of that plan, and he's going to work through me what he will, things of that sort. He will use me how he decides, things of that sort. So I'm not sure how effective that argument would be if you're having a conversation on that side, about opting out, because from a theist perspective, they may say, well, why would I opt out if this is what God wants? This is what's supposed to be, because he created everything.
It's what I deserve, and he's the ultimate standard in morality, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, I'll follow his lead, things of that sort. Right. So, yeah, I'm not sure how effective that would be on that side.
I mean, I just have to ask, since this is the first time we're doing a show together, I think most people know that I was raised secular. What's your background?
I was raised Southern Baptist on one side of my family, and the other side was Free Church of God in Christ.
Mm-hmm. And did you take that seriously for any amount of time?
I guess it was the Baptist side more so than the Free side, but it was still, the belief was there, and I was really into it. I loved the music. That was one of my main aspects. I just loved interacting with the music, all the tambourines and the blocks and just the stuff that kids can make noise with, things of that sort. So it was on that side. But I stayed into that until late high school into college.
So, Bill, you have it on good authority that that's what at least a Baptist would think, right?
At least this one.
Yes.
I can't speak for all, but from my perspective, yeah, I can kind of see not wasting too much time with that, or even thinking about it too seriously. Just kind of, it's God's plan, it's in God's hands, and kind of moving on that side.
Right. Yeah. I can certainly appreciate that. Right.
But I mean, Bill, let me also give you.
I was hoping I'd generate a little bit more discussion, but that's all right.
Actually, but let me give you a little bit more advice, because when I talk to the San Antonio student group, I'm going to be pulling out a talk on skepticism that I do a lot, and one of the things that I mention often is that you should, I mean, you're calling an atheist show to try to find out what a Christian would say, and I feel like we get those kind of calls a lot, and there's some use we can find in maybe playing devil's advocate and guessing what a Christian would say, but really the best way to do this is to actually talk to somebody who believes that stuff. And I would like to encourage people not to be shy about approaching people who are open and receptive to the question that they may know personally, and find out what they would say. One of the things that you find out when you talk to as many theists as we do on a regular basis is that there isn't any one answer to a question like that, because, the spectrum of religious belief is a big mishmash of different people believing different things. And if you ask, like a Hindu or a fundamentalist Muslim or something, you're going to get a very different answer from when you ask a Southern Baptist or, let's say, a very liberal, spiritual Episcopalian or something. So if you want to know what would a Christian say if I brought this up, ask a Christian.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. I get that. Can I ask one real quick? Well, it's not really a quick question, but it's more.
If it's not a quick question, can you make it a quick question?
Yeah, well, and then I can just take your response
All
off
right.
the air. But
That'll work.
And something that I've always wondered about is this, and that is, and it is a simple question, but it probably has a long answer. Is how was it during the period of slavery? How was it that you had white slaveholders? How did slaves adopt the Christian religion from their white slaveholders with such enthusiasm when their slaveholders were the oppressors? How was it that became infused in the African American culture when it was the slaveholders who were introducing it? That's my question.
Okay, I can. I guess you said you'll take the answer off air.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Luckily today I don't have to answer that question or touch it with a 50-foot pole. No, I don't want to say that Phil is a stand-in for.
Oh no.
You
No,
may not know any more about this topic than I do.
I would say, if you're trying to find information, and that's like looking on YouTube and things that sort of try to find, the analysis of that psychological process of how that was kind of put down. But it was, I don't know. It's hard to put myself in that position of saying like, you're, that you're a slave and that, you're meeting with your slave master or whoever to actually be taught, not the entire religion, just certain parts of it, the parts that they would want you to know, things of that sort. And so it's, I don't know, but I would say just to jump online and see what you can actually find out if you want to actually find out on that site, to see the history of religion and the African American culture and the slavery. Just there's plenty of documentaries and things about that to kind of try to explore reasons as to why that may have been the case and why it remains so prevalent in the African American culture going forward, and honestly still is. Like that was that portion still is, which is kind of that mentality of being so pertinent to African American culture is one of the reasons why even the shirt that I'm wearing, the Black Non-Believers, was kind of created to be a group that kind of represents for other people that, hey, there are African Americans that don't believe, that it's contrary to the norm that you see, and contrary to a lot of people's expectations, as a matter of fact, because I've seen that where a lot of people have the expectation that I'm religious until I otherwise say so, or I have, a shirt like this, or my Atheist Experience shirt that says something quite the opposite, and then it's kind of like that, whoa, type of thing. I went to, sorry, were you going to say something?
No.
I was in 7-Eleven last week, just last week, and it was this young lady that was checking me out, checking out my items. Wow, that doesn't sound better. I bought some items, and so she was ringing me up. Okay, whatever. I was wearing the Atheist Experience shirt. I believe it was the Atheist Experience shirt when she actually saw it, because she was nice. We were having conversation, all that kind of good stuff, and she saw the shirt. I saw her see the shirt. She actually looked down, and her face kind of stopped for a moment
to check out your items.
She saw the title, and she kind of kept going, checking getting me the rest of the stuff, and she kind of did an overemphasized "have a blessed day." It was like this really forceful type of "have a blessed day." Like it was interesting seeing that portion. I guess maybe she just wasn't ready for the fact that I was a non-believer, and I guess they would wear a shirt that actually says it very proudly of what
Yeah, when you
that
wear
part
a
is
shirt
right.
like that, you never know what you're going to get.
Yes, that is definitely true.
Although, I mean, it's nice to wear a shirt like that and have somebody come up to you discreetly and go, "Oh man, atheism, yeah, me too."
Well, that happened on the last cleanup we did for the ACA, where we out. I still had my Atheists Helping the Homeless shirt on, and there were a couple of people that came up. It was 7 of us out there. So a couple of people came up as we were going down the street asking, what church were you with? That was literally the first question that both of these individuals asked on the street. And they were separate. Like they were a block or plus away from each other. And they were like, oh, was this a group? Was it community service? We got that. And we're a church group. And then when we actually said, we're the Atheist Community of Austin, the first guy, he was like, "Oh, I can't believe it! That's awesome!" And all that kind of good stuff. So that was the second one. The second one was just kind of like, "Oh, okay." Like it was just kind of that. Oh, this
Back
is
away slowly.
But he was nice. He was like, we were cleaning. It was his store. We were cleaning up right in front of his store. So he was just appreciative of that. But he was just like, "Oh, okay, well, that's interesting. Okay, that's nice."
Right.
And kind of went back to the store.
Right. Stepping back one topic, it is a good idea to probably Google something like History of the Black Church and maybe start on a Wikipedia page or a YouTube video. Maybe consider picking up a history book too, because if you're seeing something on YouTube, it may be a documentary or it may be some ranty guy with opinions who has no idea what he's talking about.
Oh, sure. Employ your critical thinking as you absorb media.
But there is plenty of history out there about the Black Church, which feel free to check it out. So let's see. We have... Is that one preferential? I think that makes no difference. So Darren in Australia, how are you?
Fine, thank you. Long-time listener, first-time caller. My question is, if I start with the presupposition of reality is real, then does everything follow through from that? To get around Citan Bruggenkates, if I've said his name right, twaddle.
What?
Rubbish.
Okay. Wait. So you are a non-believer asking for responses to presuppositional apologetic type stuff, or what?
Just kind of basic philosophy.
Okay.
Of, if I start from the premise or the presupposition of reality is real, then everything follows through from that.
That is kind of a way too broad question to really answer. Like, what do you mean by everything?
Well, everything fits within reality, since reality is everything.
Okay. I mean, you're trying to get me to boil down centuries of philosophy into like a pithy one-sentence aphorism, and I don't think I'm equipped to do that. I mean, there are different schools of thought and stuff. I can refer you to the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, which is a pretty good online website. I don't think I'm somebody who would say with authority, oh yeah, philosophers all say this, because, there are competing schools of philosophy. I personally choose to live in a reality where the things that I sense and the input I take are generally accurate, if not reliable, if not 100% reliable. Because if you start from, oh my God, maybe nothing is real, then you can't really go anywhere with that, and it's not particularly useful for continuing to live a functional life, I think.
Yes.
Yes. I don't know if you need more of an answer.
No. Just feedback on. You understand the statement, which just sounds like you do. So, yay.
Yeah.
Language barrier. Sucks.
Okay. Anything else?
Talk funny. No, it's all good.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for calling.
Bye. Alex in Maryland.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello? Thrilled to be on. I have a question regarding strategy.
Okay.
My question: I've watched quite a few of the shows, and one thing I've noticed is that I think there's a limited utility to appeals to the intellect among many of the. And I think this is partly because, especially in the United States, there's a kind of an anti-intellectualism, but it's also because I think a lot of people are attracted to religion because of the emotional appeal, and I would divide that into two types of emotional appeal. One is reassurance, maybe false hope, but maybe false hope is better than no hope at all. And the second one is what I would call the appeal of community, the fact that if you have rituals, people can sort of gather around them, whereas if you're a skeptic, you don't really have rituals. There's no... So I was wondering if perhaps there might be some way to have kind of an emotional appeal to atheism or to skepticism, to sort of integrate it into it so that there would be more of a community perhaps, and also perhaps to give some kind of reassurance about the meaning of life or death or whatever.
Bill, you got any comment?
I mean, I definitely, I kind of see where you're coming from as far as the like the community aspect of it, that emotional appeal. Because growing up in the church, I mean, everyone that you knew, as far as what I knew at that point in time, everyone I knew around me, all the family, you know, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, was all in the fold. And so, you know, church, it was a community in that aspect. That's where we went to go, you know, do our Easter programs and have the Christmas songs and all that kind of good stuff where the kids would participate and doing all that kind of stuff. So I could kind of, I can see that portion. But for me, it was, even though there was an emotional connection there, and there was definitely a community aspect that I liked about the church. I loved going there. I loved the music. I loved that. Like, I enjoyed it a lot. But for me, it was the intellectual type of argument, I would say, actually trying to think about why I was holding on to this particular religion rather than the thousands of others that have been proposed. Why was this the one versus all the others? Was it just because I was brought up, things of that sort? And so I think it would vary depending on the type of person that you're speaking to. Different people adhere to beliefs for different reasons, whether they're good or bad. And so it's more of not necessarily not using intellectual arguments or trying to attack it that way with skepticism or whatever else, but talking with the person, engaging why they actually believe what they believe, and actually talking with them as to, you know, specifically, you know, why they hold on to it, if they even really know at all, if they can even communicate to that to you at all. So the emotional part, I mean, I wouldn't be adverse to going that far if that's what someone needs, but, you know, trying to believe what's true, I don't think that's so much intellectual. I thought that was a little like the emotional side as well, just because, you know, knowing what's true and actually trying to find out, like, it's awesome. Trying to go that route, trying to find out what's true, and when you actually say that, hey, that this may not be true, and, you know, it's on the same level as these thousands of others that have been there, you know, that's kind of like, you know, mind blowing. It's like, wow, this is I never would have thought about it like this, and so it's, I don't know, it was kind of an emotional side of that as well. But I kind of see what you're saying, that to approach it from different angles.
I mean, I agree, and you know, one of the biggest problems that I have with some atheists is that you know, they stop believing in God and they immediately think, well, I'm a genius now. You know, now I base my life on reason and rationality, and I know everything. And you know, I mean, they don't literally say that, but a lot of people wind up acting that way. And the thing is, you know, the question of God is only one position that a lot of people take, and the process of being skeptical is, you know, it's sort of a difficult, lifelong process. But in the meantime, it is not, you know, it is not on atheists to just be logical and rational and Spock-like all the time, and that's why we have things like atheist comedians and songwriters and artists. They are not as visible as specifically religious-inspired works, and big part of that, the reason for that is because churches have historically been organizations that have a whole lot of money. But I agree with you, caller, and also Phil, that you have to approach every person as an individual and see what they actually want to hear and discuss, and basically talk to them as a human being. And I think one of the things that atheists need to get better about is providing community and support to a wide range of people who may be in it for emotional reasons or personal life fulfillment reasons, as well as just the, straight up, oh, science is awesome kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was going to touch on that as well, the community aspect, because even like us here, the atheist community of Austin, we have a building where people can actually come, once a week, and we have several events that we do community service, things of that sort to interact on that side, and so. There's different, if someone was looking for that approach, then there are organizations out there that actually focus on that type of stuff, the Sunday assemblies, that type of thing, and, or just like at the Lackland Air Force Base where they, get together to talk about things like death and how to deal with that from a secular perspective and the other topics of that sort. So there's services out there, but I mean, a lot of people may not know about them, and when you're talking with someone who's used to a community at their fingertips all the time, that their social circles, their family, things of that sort, they may need that type of support as well. And some people don't need it, and that's fine, and they're more individualistic, which is great. I mean, just do your thing. But for some that actually want that interaction, that social circle, to have that type of framework there are organizations around that may be able to help for that person. And so when you're talking with a believer, it may be helpful to also say that, hey, there's, if you don't believe, or you actually just want to check out, we have a community here and we meet, every, once a month or twice a month or, every week or something like that, to actually offer that communal support so that they feel more comfortable approaching that issue if that's what they actually want to do.
See, the way I'm thinking is that religions over thousands of years have evolved, and one of the ways that they've evolved is to take advantage of people's emotional needs by providing rituals that bring people together and the like.
Okay,
and
they also do it by lying, right?
Well, of course. No, of course.
Yeah.
I'm not disputing that. But the thing is, a lot of people, see, when they watch Sam Harris or when they watch Matt or you all or Richard Dawkins or whoever, a lot of it goes right over their heads. Like whenever Matt says the word deontology or something like teleology, nobody knows. I mean, 99% of Americans don't know what either of those things mean. And I mean, it's like people. I think a lot of people see skeptics and atheists as being too ivory tower. A lot of people are just natural followers. You could put the story of Jack and the Beanstalk in the Bible, and it wouldn't make any difference to most people because they're attached to their church and because it involves their family and community and all this other stuff. And as Matt I think said at one point, thinking is hard. And thinking about something in depth is very, very hard.
On one hand, I'm maybe kind of flattered that you think of us as some intellectual ivory tower, brilliant people, but on the other hand, we're just a bunch of schmucks sitting in these chairs, and I think we do actually make an effort to talk to people on a level that they can understand, and we don't. We try to steer away maybe from getting into dense philosophical terms and just to speak on a level that people relate to, where, the question, what do you believe and why do you believe it, is pretty simple. And I think the objective in asking something like that is just to get somebody thinking on their own, not necessarily to throw a bunch of $10 words at them and baffle them with nonsense.
Well, that's good. That's commendable. I suppose I've seen a lot of people who don't do that.
But the thing is, people like having rituals and things that repeat, and I am all for people doing things like whatever, like secular church type things.
Yeah,
What do you,
Sunday assembly type,
Right.
or just meetings in general.
I think that's cool, but also you should bear in mind that those kinds of things aren't for everybody, and some people will enjoy some kinds of things. And you may think, all atheists should be encouraging this specific thing, but what you're going to do is just create another faction of atheists, like just like when the church inevitably splits into yet another branch where everybody else is heretics. I'm not saying that there's actually anything wrong with holding special interest events or having specific categories of things, like this is the Atheist Bowling League. Here's black non-believers. They are a specific type of atheists that aren't meant to appeal to everybody. Here's an atheist sci-fi book club or a women's group. There's nothing wrong with having a whole bunch of different branches, but I would hesitate to make some kind of blanket statement about atheists should do this.
Yeah.
Atheists should do what they feel like, and if they want to attract more people with specific interests, then they should figure out what attracts those particular people. There's not a one-size-fits-all answer to that question.
I wasn't trying to get too specific because I don't have any real answers to this problem, to this question either. So I was just sort of suggesting a different approach, but I don't know.
This approach works for some people. Different approaches work for different people.
Yeah.
All right.
But all right.
Okay, well, thank you. Good talk.
Thanks.
All right, thanks for calling.
You too. I'm being told by the screeners that this is a bit of a slow call day. There are a number of empty lines. Don't worry, we have enough to fill up the show, but we do try to give priority to theists. So if you are one and happen to be listening, you should know that there are lines open for you. And if you know anybody who you think would be a great caller, don't forget to hype up this show and let them know that we love getting into conversations, and we don't bite. Let's see. Ed in Mexico.
Oh, hi. Russell and Phil.
Hi.
Yes.
Yeah, yes, hi. I just heard what you said, and I did. I'm an atheist. I confess that. But my question is about morality. I'm kind of examining my own morality, because what I've started doing recently is attending a church service, their Pentecostal church. And there's times when I've been doing it for quite a while now, and there's times when I feel like I'm out of place, and what the hell am I doing here, or am I... Partly because I know that many of the people, I don't know the people very much in this church, except that they know me because I'm Canadian, and I stick out like a sore thumb. They also know, because I'm outspoken, that I'm an atheist.
Oh.
So my question is, I guess I'm looking at it myself, and I'm asking you what you think about it. Me going to this church with people knowing that I don't believe what they believe. I don't do anything to demonstrate that or anything. But do you see any immorality in what I'm describing?
Have they asked you to leave?
Excuse me?
Have they asked you to leave at any point?
No.
Are they enthusiastic and happy that an atheist is attending their church? Maybe. That would be my guess.
Well, the only thing that I've noticed is I've got to know, they have different pastors, but there's kind of one pastor, his name is Ezekiel, and he seems to be the kind of resident pastor, and there's others that come in from Acapulco, and especially Acapulco and surrounding areas. but this guy, I've never had a conversation with, but he seemed that there was a time in the first few times that I went there that it was he came up to me and put his arms around me during his sermon and said, "God loves you." and I was so flabbergasted that I kind of said, I love your church. Part of the reason I go there and I said that is because they have the best music in town.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I was just going to ask you that. What was the reason that kind of attracted
what are
you to
you getting
this,
out of it? That's
this portion. But.
Yeah, I love the music, but the other thing is, I come away from there I get to sing at the top of my lungs because the volume is. I'm a singer guitarist. I'm not doing it now because I'm old, but I still play and sing on my sofa and everything. But so I think part of what I'm getting is this kind of feeling of community a little bit that I hear other atheists talking about, or the lack of that.
Okay. I mean, the only ethical issue I could see with that is if you were in some way deceiving them, but it doesn't sound like you are, and they don't seem to, correct me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't sound like they mind that you're there. Morality is not an absolute question of right or wrong. It's it's how do we get along with each other? And if you're comfortable with it, which I'm not sure I would be, but leave that aside. If you're comfortable with it and the people at church are comfortable with it, you might want to check if your stream's still running at the same time that you're calling, by the way. Because that might be causing an echo.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. My wife is listening.
Oh, gotcha.
Glenn, can you turn that down a little bit? It's causing echo.
Sorry about that.
If you're comfortable with it and they're comfortable with it, I don't see any problem.
Okay. I think that's pretty much the way I was thinking about it. I also had another one happen that's on the same issue. I have a friend down the street who has a little restaurant, and he is he's Mexican, and part of the reason, by the way, that I enjoy the church is because I listen to the sermon, and of course it's in Spanish. And Spanish is a second language for me, so it's a good exercise for me to try to make sure I understand exactly what they're saying.
Okay.
No problem with I don't think that would be immoral in any way. But anyway, my friend down the street, it turns out he runs this little restaurant that we, my wife and I, often went to. And then I started going more often because he liked to talk about religion, and he finally admitted after about the third time that he was a born-again Christian. So he and I get into many discussions about, and I was questioning very much, what do you believe and why, based on what I've learned, a lot of what I've learned from you guys especially. Mm-hmm. And I was going through this exercise like it was kind of fun. We're speaking Spanish, so it's an exercise for me that way. But just recently, I was there in his restaurant, and suddenly he didn't tend to come so close to me, and I had this feeling of, oh boy, this doesn't feel right. And he sat across the room from me, and it's a tiny little, it's a one-room place or anything, but he sat across the room from me, and he said to me, out of the blue, Ed, I need Jesus Christ every day in my life.
Okay.
Now, that's very different than anything he'd ever said. Usually it was Jesus loves you, or something like that. Right. And what I'm worried about is I think that I wasn't even thinking about it, but I think what I was telling him and, the discussions we were having have maybe sunk in, and he's starting to either question or actually not believe.
Good job. Keep it up. Look, there are some atheists who will tell.
I come away feeling guilty. I'm thinking, oh my God.
Come on, do you think that they feel guilty when they preach at you and try to win you as a convert? There are some atheists who will tell you that it's wrong to take people's religion away from them because, get this, they can't understand atheism and they wouldn't know what to do with their lives, or they'd go around killing people or whatever because they'd have no moral compass remaining. I hate that argument because I think it's really condescending. I think everybody is entitled to process facts and information in their own way, and it's not ethical. Okay, you should deal with people socially in a way that they personally are comfortable with. But if they are having this conversation voluntarily, and the things you say are convincing enough that they start to doubt their own religion, that's not your fault.
Yeah. Because it sounds like y'all went into it, mutually, that y'all actually decided to.
The thing is that I was in these conversations never, ever considering that I might change his mind. I was kind of practicing or something,
Well, practicing is great because that's how you get better at changing people's minds. And for me, that's a win when something like that happens. I'm not saying I'm going into every conversation planning to change somebody's mind, but if somebody hears what I'm saying and thinks, oh, you have a good point, maybe you're even right, that's really flattering.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the problem?
It sounded like a desperation thing, this thing about he needed Jesus, and it was kind of like, oh my God, did I take... on my way home, I'm thinking, well, I didn't take Jesus out of your life if it's gone.
Maybe Jesus was never yours to begin with.
Yeah, when you said that, he said that I need Jesus every day, and I was like, was there a reason that like today he wasn't there or something to that effect? Is that what you were getting at? But it didn't seem like you went into it with malicious intent or something to that effect. And if you're having conversations and someone happened to change their mind, it's just. I mean, that's nothing. You can't affect that. You were just having conversations, and you can't necessarily help their reactions to that conversation, or if they thought about it further and start to question their beliefs, things of that sort. So it's, I'm not, because it seemed like the problem that you said you were having was that you were feeling guilt for that side, right? That you were feeling guilt that you may have affected his beliefs.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. One of my brothers said to me, you might have taken something away from this guy that he's had all his life, and it's important to him. But on the surface, I don't think it makes any sense. I was kind of shocked. In one conversation...
Have you... I think you should consider the opposite side. Somebody I know very well, who I'm not sure wants to be identified, but she says that she is now an atheist, and when she was in college, she had a boyfriend who was an atheist, but she wasn't at the time, and he tiptoed around the subject because he didn't want to upset her. And later, when she became an atheist, she looked back on it and said she kind of resented the fact that he avoided talking to her about it because maybe she would have changed her mind sooner, and being an atheist is great.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I kind of look at it as sort of saving them or something.
Right. But,
Which, of course, is what they think they're doing to us if they can convince us.
It's not your responsibility to save anyone, and it's also not your responsibility to be afraid of what they'll do if they hear something that you're saying just because you think it's correct. If it's not correct, maybe they can just brush it off.
Yeah. The situation, this part of it, it turns out that I'm concerned that it looks to me like he and his wife may be having marital issues or something.
Oh, well, that's a whole different can of worms.
Well, yeah, no, I'm not. Nothing was going on between. His wife is also a friend, but absolutely.
I wasn't.
I mean, it wasn't like No, but I'm concerned that his change of mind, re-religion, may have interfered with their relationship. Mm. And so I like what you said, though, that I still can't take that as a responsibility.
Yeah, it is not your fault.
In one conversation we had way back when he was desperately trying to convince me of his way of thinking, he said to me, Ed, and you know what? I know he was talking to somebody, like a pastor or somebody, between our conversations, because one time he threw the watchmaker thing at me, for example, But anyway, he said to me, I think that you're arrogant because you claim that you don't need anything. You think you're the be-all and the end-all.
I would say, hey, I think you're arrogant because you think that the omnipotent creator of all of the things in the universe personally loves you and is fascinated by your life and wants to take you to a special magical place after you die. That sounds pretty arrogant to me.
If you follow the rules.
Russell, that's about as close to a quote of what I ended up saying to, because he said it, I was shocked at first, but then I responded with, hey, look, you say I don't need anything. Hey, first off, my wife, my family, my music, my guitar, my music, I need those things. They are an important part of me. You, on the other hand, say you're a personal friend to this guy that's apparently God.
Right.
Now, does that not sound arrogant? And his face went blank, and he admitted. He said, "Yes, it sounds arrogant."
Wow.
And so I kind of won that one, I guess. But anyway, I think
take your win and stop complaining.
A funny part of this, I don't know how long ago it was. I know when I came to the point in my life when I said I'm an atheist, but I don't know when it was. I don't think there was any time in my life I really believed any of that stuff. But coming to the point where I actually said, hey, that's it. I'm not doing any more dancing about, depends on what you mean by God or any of that. So,
okay.
That for me was a liberating time.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying.
At any rate, I feel like I've been rambling on a little bit here, and I like what you said about not my responsibility if I happen to change some people's minds or anything like that. And I appreciate it. Love your show, and I think I've watched every video of your show that I can possibly find I watched arguably hundreds of them. So I love what you do, and
thank you for tuning in.
Every time I listen.
Okay. And thanks for your call.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the help. And Phil, I don't know you. I feel like I know Russell well because I've seen him hundreds of times, but I haven't seen you many times.
Well, yeah, I'm.
Anyway, nice
I'm new. This is my third show,
both.
so yeah, that's the way it's gonna go.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Great. Good
All right.
luck and have a good day, and
all right,
I'll watch
you too.
the rest of the show.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you.
Whoops, we just lost the person I was allegedly going to take next. So, back to the beginning with Haley in Texas.
Cool. Hello?
Haley.
Hey, sorry.
Okay.
Hello.
I'm coughing. Okay, I'm an atheist, and I'm in Baytown, Texas. I love the show. I wanted to say, excuse me. I was just wondering, or actually I wanted y'all's input in the conversation that I was having where the theist I was having a discussion with said that salvation, the word salvation, is the name given of Christ in the Old Testament. And he used that as a validation of the mention of Christ, before the New Testament. I just wanted to see what y'all thought about that, because I'd never heard about that before, brought up in conversations.
Have you asked any Jews about that?
Well, that's what he was saying. He was saying that, like, it was right because, Jewish people translated it from Hebrew, and that's the exact meaning. And I was like, well, that's, like, something I would have to observe for myself and take note and research for myself. I'm not going to take your word for it. So the conversation...
I mean, like, what is the claim here? Is your friend saying that, the Jews secretly knew that they... or wrote something into the Bible because it was divinely inspired that was a prediction of Jesus Christ coming? Is that the claim?
Well, he just said that the word salvation, every time it was mentioned, like, it was specifically in reference of Christ. And that's just something that I guess was overlooked. Like, he gave no basis for it other than saying that, like, he gave an example of Noah translating to comfort, and he gave a passage in which the word comfort was mentioned in, like, I guess a prophetic way of, like, revealing, Noah was coming or something, and he used that as validation to say, well, this is what they meant whenever they referenced Christ. I really had never heard this before at all, and I just didn't know what to say to it other than, well, I'll get back to you on that,
I mean, you can say whatever you want. You could say that when Lewis Carroll wrote Alice in Wonderland, and he was, he wrote the character of Humpty Dumpty, he was actually, without knowing it, referring to Richard Dawkins. I don't know. I mean, if he didn't give you a reason for this, he just said, oh, the Bible prophesies things that are in the future, but it doesn't say Jesus specifically. It just says salvation. But they were really talking about Jesus. You're like, okay, what else you got?
I wanted to see, like, what else other than... It was just very frustrating that he felt so sure that this is exactly what that meant, and I was just trying to say, well, you don't know that. Like, you can't say anything, that would be validation for it. And I don't know.
Here's a really simple thing a really simple phrase you can pull out. I don't believe you. It's not, that is not an absolute declaration that person is definitely wrong. It's just, you're trying to convince me of something, and I'm not convinced. So what else have you got? Like, if this person isn't bringing you anything, maybe I don't believe you is all you really need to say. And then you can talk about something else, or he can try to convince you. But, it is annoying and frustrating to talk to somebody who is just saying things with no support that make no sense.
Yeah. Okay, well, that was it, guys. I just wanted to see, like, what you thought, because you were kind of like pillars in the atheist community, so I thought your input was extremely important in this. So thank you. I appreciate it, and y'all have a good show.
Thanks.
All right, thanks for calling.
Sorry, I'm not stepping on.
No, you're good. I was just trying to think about on that portion, because, I mean, there's so many. I'm not sure. On that side, if I would go into the route of, on the book itself, like, when was it written? Like, you're saying that it was here, you just interpreting that this was the prophecy, you just kind of using your interpretation to do that, or just attacking, like, saying, like you said, I don't believe you, and why should I believe, like, your particular interpretation of this? But if it's not clearly written that way, like, how am I supposed to know that that's the correct way, or if it was added in later and made it seem like, even if it was correct, was it just added later in the attempt to make it seem like it was a prophecy coming ahead or something to that effect? But
I mean, and I think the thing you have to keep in mind with Christians is when they are arguing, trying to make a case for God or Jesus being real, they want something from you. They are trying to get your support and consent to be in this religion, because the religion itself says that it's a good thing to go out and win souls. You don't have to give them what they want. It is probably equally frustrating for them if you just sit there and say, well, I don't believe you, but And they may say, well, I don't care if you believe me, it's still true. But then the real question is, why are you telling me this then? Like, when you come right down to it, they are trying to get something out of you, which is some kind of affirmation that they are winning your soul. And so, if they tell you, well, I don't care if you believe, then you can just say, I don't care if you believe either. Let's talk about, video games. Let's have a conversation that we'll both find interesting, because this one isn't it. Let's see. Jonathan in Washington.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
I want to welcome Phil to the show. I don't think I've heard any callers do that yet, so welcome.
Oh, thanks.
It's about overdue on that, but I was calling today for a couple of reasons, but I've been speaking with my boss quite a bit about atheism, and evolution is a big topic, which I know doesn't necessarily go one way or the other.
I hope you're on real friendly terms with your boss before you do that.
Having these kind of conversations.
Sometimes it does get scary. The day I said biological evolution is a fact, he blew up.
Before you even say anything else, I would almost say, you are totally within your rights to say, I don't think this is an appropriate conversation for the workplace, because your boss has got power over you. Of course, you have some kind of power over him, because if he fires you over the evolution thing, then you have a lawsuit, maybe, but it depends on what the rules are in Washington. Yeah, I would be careful about that in the workplace, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, absolutely good advice. We have a very cordial and respectful environment, and I'm confident in the safety of my job. In fact, he frequently, when we're talking about this, though both of us go out of our way to talk about it, once in a while, but he's, if this is not a conversation you want to have or you're uncomfortable in any way, let's not have it. So, the last time, I honestly felt like I backed him into a corner logically, and he was concerned, but he didn't want to give up the conversation, so he's trying to give me an out and hoping I'd take it, which, that may be open to interpretation. But the issue that I have a lot of the time when I talk to him is that he will start talking about evolution and abiogenesis and all that comes into the conversation. And so he starts saying things like, well, he's a young Earth creationist. So you don't know that the Earth is that old. Were you there? And
God.
Weird old argument. Yeah.
He's got the Ken Ham line.
Yes.
I actually pulled out from Amazon a copy of the Counter-Creationism Handbook, which is amazing.
You should also check out ironchariots.org, the counter-apologetics wiki. This is not an advertisement.
I referred him there. I think Thursday I referred him to it, and when I mentioned the Iron Chariots, he said, no, what that's talking about is that they're just, the people were afraid. God was there, but the people were afraid and they left. See, that's what it was. And I went back and read it, and that's not what it said.
Yeah, God is a crappy writer.
Yeah, for me, so I grew up Christian, Seventh-day Adventist. Everyone in my town pretty much is. So, it was a long road walking away for it. And a lot of the conversations end up being just my experience. This is not a good reason for it, but evolution is what finally stepped me away from it. Because I went to a private school, K through 12, only ever had that experience lobbed at me.
Yeah,
and
that perspective.
So finally, when I left and came back, I'd actually learned something about reality. And so, it's a difficult conversation. He believes that believing that a transitional fossil ever reproduced is a faith thing. And that all the little steps that you can't see being reproduced take faith. And I'm like, this is just reasonable steps. You see that this animal is here, and you see ones before it, and you see ones after. That is a reasonable position. We talk about genetics, and he has trouble with all of these things, and I'm having trouble explaining to him the difference. And at times he will say, I've lost my train of thought.
I had a good analogy once from my friend Dennis Lubet on the Nonprofits, who said, creationism is like people who are looking at a clock and saying, yeah, well, the second hand is moving, but the hour hand never moves and it never will. And then you show a picture of the hour hand in all these different positions, and they say, well, obviously that's a different clock because I don't see the hour hand moving. So there is no transition between that. And there's no series of different pictures of clocks that will satisfy a creationist, because they are dedicated to not believing in clock movement no matter what.
Yeah. No, I have explained the series of photos, the Dawkins explanation from Greatest Show on Earth, where he's, a whole series of files. They're all the same thing, but any one point will look different from any point further, sufficiently far away. But it always comes down to, what I was going to say earlier is, he claims that scientists aren't doing science. He says, observable, repeatable. If it's not observable and it's not repeatable, it's not science. And my usual response is, maybe we should ask the scientists.
Yeah, fair answer, I think.
Yeah, sounds like something right out of Ken Ham's handbook.
Playbook,
It really sounds like what he was saying.
He tried to bring up Ken Ham,
okay.
And he tried to bring up not Eric, his Hovind.
Oh yeah, that guy. That's another idiot.
Yeah, he brought him up as a pillar of scientific knowledge, and I destroyed him in moments.
Yeah, have you looked up Ken Ham?
Jail.
Have you looked up Kent Hovind's fake degree? Because it's really a hilarious read.
Yeah, that is actually another thing I brought up, and he started trying to, because I pointed him to Aaron Ra at one point, and his response to the science being presented was, well, that guy, he one time said something about Bigfoot, and he made a loud noise, and so I'm not listening to anything he has to say. I'm like, so if someone ever does anything foolish, ever, and I don't know the context, whether it had been or not, just he'd found it in some video, and that was somehow evidence against his position. And
yeah.
The tap dancing and the scraping of the goalposts is audible.
It's frustrating.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, I may have to stop, but I was hoping you guys might have some advice.
Besides the advice that you should be really careful about doing this at work, you can't make somebody learn something who has decided that they're not going to.
Right.
But it might help if you think about the conversations with your boss not as an opportunity to convince your boss, since he's got his head way up his Bible, but as an opportunity for you to learn things. And every time he throws an argument at you that you're not sure about, go and look it up after the conversation's over. Not necessarily to change his mind, but to have a better foundation of your information.
Yeah.
In the future.
Yeah, that's absolutely what's happened too. That's what led me to find your guys' show in the first place. I was looking up something specific, and you guys. In fact, I think it was you, Russell, that tore apart someone making a specious claim, and I was like, I'm gonna have to keep paying attention to these guys. So.
Well, thanks.
Because you may run into somebody that kind of believes the same thing, but is more willing to actually take an earnest look at the evidence and what you're presenting, things of the sort, to actually potentially change their mind. It may not be your boss, that you may not ever reach that point, but like Russell said, it is good practice just to kind of have that your response is kind of on tap, so that somebody else may be able to benefit and may actually take the time to look into what you're saying and actually try to review it, versus try to immediately go try to find something on Google that purportedly refutes it so that they feel better and more comfortable with their belief they already have.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Well, thanks for taking. I had one other question, if there's time.
There's a caller that I'd really like to get to at the end.
Okay,
so I'm going to move on.
Thanks, guys.
But yeah, thank you for calling. Bye. Whoops.
Cut off.
Too fast. Let's see. Tippe in West Virginia.
Hello?
Hello.
How's it going, man?
Hi. How are you? You are on the air.
Oh, hey everybody. So,
Hello.
why are you guys streaming an atheist podcast, man?
We enjoy it.
Yeah, it's good fun.
Well, I just wanted to know what sent you over the edge, really, and sent you to the dark path of atheism.
There is no edge for me. I think the dark path of atheism was introduced to me by two loving and caring parents with physics degrees. So I, maybe I'm not the person to answer this. Phil, what sent you down the dark path?
The dark path. Oh dear. Tippe. Are we pronouncing that right? Tippe? Is that the way you say it? Tippe?
Yeah, it's Tippe.
Okay.
Cool. That's cool.
But I was a believer all of my early life, going into high school and college. But what kind of led me to start looking was when I kind of started thinking about why I grew up Southern Baptist. That's the one I identify most with, even though my father's side was Free Church of God in Christ. I identified as Baptist.
Man, you really had it rough. You were Baptist.
You want to share what you are?
Being Baptist, man.
What are you, Tippe?
I am Methodist.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
You should have been Methodist.
Okay, apparently.
Dude, I understand him, because Baptists, they're in there for like 8 hours. But
not quite. That I mean, it depends on where you are and.
I've been to a couple, and they're just like hours long, and they're as boring as the Atheist Experience.
I'm not sure about that, but I enjoyed. I mean, our services were never quite that long. They had a lot of music, which I enjoyed on that side. So when I was growing up, I actually enjoyed that aspect of it more so than anything else. Was all the music, not necessarily dancing. Well, in the Free Church of God in Christ side, yes. The Baptist side, no.
I go to church currently, and our pastor right before he has like a little dance sermon. Like right before, it's a little unique. That's why I kind of like going. It's very interesting. But,
yeah, that's
what do you guys think of? I personally, as a believer in Jesus Christ, I don't.
Did Phil finish answering your question? What turned you away?
But
if it wasn't the 8-hour sermon,
no. But going into it, going away, in college, I started basically because I ran into a lot of different people from a lot of different faiths, things of that sort. And to make a long story short, it was basically trying to figure out why I identified as a Baptist as opposed to any other particular sect of Christianity. And so I was kind of taking a hard look at myself and kind of doing some research on other religions that existed, some that still exist now and that are practiced today.
What other religions did you research?
Just the traditional, I looked at Luciferian just to see what that was all about, Rastafari and that type of portion. But Rastafari, yeah. But looking at that, Hindu, Egyptian, Norse gods, things, basically trying to look at just the spectrum that I at least was aware of at that time and figure out why I identified as Baptist. And I kind of set on the fact that I grew up in that environment is more than likely why I was just, versus if I grew up over in India, that I would more than likely be something else. And so I was trying to figure out why I was holding on to this one versus holding on to this other belief that other billions of people or millions or whatever else hold true to themselves the same way that I do with my current belief. And once I wasn't able to reconcile why, their faith that's different from mine has a lot of conflicting portions with the one I believe, and I hold it to be true, there was no reason for me to stay as a Baptist if I couldn't come up with a good, tangible reason as to why my particular section of Christianity and being a Southern Baptist was correct versus, say, someone that believed in the Norse God still, why they were correct instead. And I couldn't find any tangible evidence to really say that, oh no, mine is correct because of X, Y, Z. Like, this is the reason that mine was there. So it put all of the religions that I had read about and studied on the same level. And I couldn't elevate my particular religion above the level of any others that hadn't met their burden of proof. And that's kind of the way I fell into the spiritual and non-religious portion, where I kind of held a deistic view. So I believed that there was still, a deity of some type, but that all these religions were just wrong. They're just completely wrong. And then I proceeded with that to go into, well, why do I believe that there's a deity at all? Like, why did I hold to that one versus the multiple deities that existed in other religions? Why was it just one deity, and it was the deity that I kind of grew up with? And I couldn't justify that either. And so that's when I actually backed away altogether until I could actually find some kind of credible evidence to say that a deity actually exists, or multiple deities, or something to that effect. Then I wouldn't hold to that belief either. So that's the long and short of that little journey. I skipped a lot of portions there just for time purposes, but yeah, that's the long and short of it.
I have like one more question. What do you guys think of like Islam? You think they're a violent group of crazy fuzzies, or you think they're really
wrong.
cool people?
We think they're wrong, and we think there are a lot of violent, crazy Muslims out there, as I'm sure you do also.
Yeah,
but I mean, we don't. I mean, your mileage may vary on this, but we don't think that like Islam following the Quran is inherently more likely to lead people to violence, as opposed to the cultural aspects of Islam, than the Bible, which has a lot of nasty stuff in it too.
You think that it's a culture thing that they're so violent, and not because of their version of the Quran or whatever?
I think that a lot of Muslims manage to ignore or gloss over or explain away a lot of portions of the Quran, and in that sense, they are very much the same as a lot of Christians.
Right.
What portions would they be glossing over? That would
I
make
can
them
pull up
peaceful
some verses
religion?
if you want to.
Sure, man. I would love to listen to it.
Okay, but I'm sure that you've got some handy also. I mean, I don't know if we want to sit here Googling
I don't have anything
stuff.
handy, man. I just saw this on YouTube, and I'm giving you guys a try.
Okay.
And I'm liking what I'm hearing. I'm pretty impressed, if I got to say so myself.
Okay.
Well, thanks.
Thanks.
Oh, you kind of breaking up a little there, too.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. We basically think that religious people believe a lot of things that aren't true, and that's okay. I mean, Christians believe that Jesus Christ performed a whole bunch of miracles, and they also believe that God went down and killed all the babies of the Egyptians and stuff like that. We don't think any of that happened. Mormons believe that an angel came down with a bunch of golden plates. And they showed them to this one guy who was able to secretly write down the things that the angel told him, that happened to say that he could bang a bunch of other women, which was convenient for him. We don't think that's true, and I bet you don't either. And people of varying faiths are more or less likely to commit violence based on the amount that they sort of mutually reinforce each other and tell each other to focus on the stuff that tells them that violence is a good thing. And some religions have more of that culture surrounding them than others do. But at the end of the day, we're atheists, and we think none of them are based on much of anything real, including your religion.
What do you guys think? Do you guys think about just? You think that we could do a lot of recorded?
You're breaking up a little bit.
Recorded
Can you say that again?
You guys think about it? You think we can get a lot of recorded history out of religious scripts, or do you think that's all? You think that's all trash? I think we got to go back and look at some other sort of.
Did you get any of that?
It sounds like he was saying, do you think that some of the religious texts that were they historic, or were they actually historic recordings potentially, or were they all trash? I think that's kind of what I got from that.
I wouldn't say any of that in an absolute and final way. I mean, the Book of Mormon writes a bunch of stuff about Joseph Smith, for instance, who was a real person. So, I mean, I'm not even going to say that Book of Mormon is all, Book of Mormon doesn't have actual literal stuff. But let me get broader. The Book of Mormon mentions Missouri. Missouri is a real place. There's a lot of stuff in the Book of Mormon that didn't happen, but it's not all made up from nothing. Yeah. People were writing about stuff that they know about, but people also embellish, either on purpose or because they get involved in a collective delusion. And there's no simple answer to why a book winds up containing as much incorrect, false things as the Bible does or other religious books.
Yeah, the only thing that you can, on that side is to try to, if a specific claim is made in any of the religious texts, is to try to verify it, if we can actually verify that this particular event occurred, and what evidence do we have to say that this particular event occurred. But I wouldn't say, like Russell said, that it's all trash. It may have been based on somebody's belief that was passed down, or something that happened locally on some level, depending on what was going on. But the accounts that were in the book have to be substantiated before it can be reasonable to actually say that, oh yes, this is actually true, and this is historic documentation, things of that sort.
All right, that's something. What do you guys live streaming?
I said,
you guys,
we're having trouble. We're having trouble hearing you, Tippe. Can you say that again? It's breaking up real bad. Really bad.
We are live. We stream every Sunday from 4:30 to 6 p.m. Central Time.
Off, getting them good, but putting them on Sunday, right?
Every Sunday.
Yeah, I think he said something else, but I couldn't hear the rest of that part.
I think we're gonna have to take one last caller after you, since since we can't seem to hear you all that well anymore. But feel free to call back again. We can continue this some other time. Okay.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. We got 5 minutes. Oops. Oh, did I drop the wrong one? No, that was already dropped.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. We got one last caller. That's Will in Waco. We got about 5 minutes. What's on your mind, Will?
5 minutes. I don't know if we can fit it all into that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You too are welcome to call back another week, but we can cram in something in 5 minutes.
No, we'll do that. Just real quick, I've been listening to you for maybe a year or more. Mm-hmm. Ever since Matt was on the show with over in England, the Justin Brierley thing.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry I missed him. He did a great job on that show. I thought he was very impressive. And then I dialed in to watch y'all's show as a result of that. And I've been pretty much every other Sunday or so I'll get on if you aren't up against the Dallas Cowboys or something important. So,
okay.
But seriously, one of the things that I've learned is that through this process is that the atheist perspective is really a valid perspective. And I am a theist. I'm a Christian. I'm a believer in Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. I'll say that all up front. Mm-hmm. But as I listen to y'all, I've learned that I really need to pay attention to what y'all are saying, because a lot of the discussion, a lot of the arguments have some merit.
Well, that's a very nice thing of you to say.
Well, I think there's other people that feel the same way. You don't get many callers like that, though. And so when you had your open call a while ago, I said, well, geez, maybe I'll have to call, because no telling who's going to call if I don't. So, but at any rate, that's number one. But I think number two, one of the other things that I've noticed is that and this is probably, I would say it's more, and I don't want to be a big generalist on this, but I'll just say from a Christian perspective, there's a whole lot of folks that do a lot of generalization and characterization and really don't ever get into, number one, thinking about what they're really believing. I'm a Southern Baptist. I know that's where Matt came out of, and that's what Bill was talking about earlier. So I certainly understand that perspective. But I know from within my own denomination, I run into an awful lot of folks on Sunday that probably haven't got a clue about what their Christian walk is about. Mm-hmm. But they're very faithful, and they're there, and it's real easy. They're easy targets and easy to set up as straw man to knock down. And so,
well,
one of the things go ahead.
I've found that there is very little correlation between knowledge of a particular religion, of the inner workings and mechanics of it, and the fervor with which people believe. I think there are some people who are very knowledgeable and very passionate about their religion, and I think there are a whole lot of sincerely, deeply religious people who don't really know or care about reading the entire Bible all the way through. And I know some atheists who are incredibly knowledgeable about the Bible. So I think there is the whole spectrum of people, and there's not necessarily any relationship between any intellectual understanding of of a religion and the fervor with which they would believe in it and maybe die for it. Is that fair?
I mean, yeah, it's all stripes that I've seen, even growing up, seeing that portion. Those who knew the Bible a lot more, in and out, versus those who were kind of showing up at Christmas time or Easter, the main events, but they were still just as gung-ho, in the choir or doing whatever else. They were, for all intents and purposes, as far as where you can tell, very sincere believers, but they didn't necessarily know all the nooks and crannies of the Bibles or was able to read off certain verses here and there. It's just, it wasn't for them. But
well, we are about to wrap up, so why don't you go ahead and give us the last word and give us your sign off. If you need to take a few more minutes, that's fine, and then we'll sign off.
I'll be quick because I know folks want to go eat. So
yes,
I think
at the Star of India after the show. By the way, anyone who is in Austin or not in Austin is welcome to attend.
Well, I guess the one thing I would urge atheists and theists, Christians as well, is to really seek to listen and understand and have good dialogue. But look for also folks online, wherever there are some really good places that really foster. I mentioned the Unbelievable Show with Justin Brierley. I find that to be a great balance. Matt's been on it at least once that I've heard, and several other atheists. So finding these kind of shows where you can hear really reasoned, thoughtful comment back and forth, I've found very helpful in developing my own opinions.
I couldn't agree more.
Sure.
And
Okay.
in return, I would also say that atheists ought to go out and listen to Christian shows and other religious shows.
Absolutely.
All right.
Find the right one, though.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Hey, take care,
All right.
guys. Talk to you later.
All right, take care of
See you
yourself.
later. Thank you, Phil, for joining me this week.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you guys again next week.
All right, bye, everyone.
Hi, this is Russell Glasser, host of The Atheist Experience. You know, The Atheist Experience is made possible by volunteers and the generous support of viewers like you. If the promotion of positive atheist culture and separation of church and state are values that you hold, please consider contributing by becoming an ACA member or visiting our product page at evolvefish.com under the Partner tab. Thank you.